Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And India have beaten Sri Lanka by 41 runs, booking a place in the final of the Asia Cup. After playing 3 days in a row and having to defend a score of 214, India winning the game in the way they did was a very good win. Regarding the 11s of both teams, the Sri Lankan side was unchanged from their previous game against Bangladesh, and one change for India, Akshar Patel in for Shardul Thakur, which I thought was the correct decision. And especially considering what we saw from the 12th over the first innings onwards, the inclusion in hindsight gave India the best chance to win this game, and I still thought before the game that it was the correct decision. And Rohit Sharma won the toss and chose to bat first, which was the right call. Scoring was steady for the first 9 overs of the game, and both the Indian openers took advantage of any boundary scoring opportunities offered by the Sri Lankan bowlers. I didn't think Kasun Rajitha and Mahesh Theekshana got too much wrong in the first part of the innings, and especially Mahesh Theekshana bowled quite an economical spell up front. He's been having a good Asia Cup thus far. Kasun Rajitha conceded 2 4s and a 6 in his 4 overs, but I thought he had his moments, for example, when he beat the bat of Rohit Sharma in the second over that he bowled. But because of some boundaries that were conceded and some poor fielding that led to boundaries being registered, India got to 48 without loss after 9 overs without experiencing too much fuss. And the next 2 overs that followed put India in a very good position where Dasun Shanaka's over, he bowled the 10th over, it went for 17 runs where he conceded 4 boundaries. And the over after that went for 15, which meant that India were 80 without loss after 11 overs. And I know the game didn't follow that roadmap after that point, but I thought that at that point in time, India looked to be in a very good position. And for the Sri Lankan seamers, of course, they are missing the likes of Chamira and Dilshan Madhushankar for this tournament. And I think looking at the current seamers they've got, I think if conditions favour him, Kasun Rajitha can be a handful. Matisha Patiriana has had a couple of good games in his ODI career so far, but he hasn't found his feet as of yet in this format. And Dasun Shanaka, like I said, I don't think you can count him as... I would say if you're looking for him to even be a fourth seamer, I'd say it's a bit of a stretch. I think his bowling is very, very work in progress. He's more of a batsman. And if you've only got those 3 seamers in your starting 11 and you're looking to put some pressure, then if the likes of Kasun Rajitha can't get the breakthroughs, and if you've got a Matisha Patirana finding his feet in his format and a Dasun Shanaka who is in no way even a fourth seamer in this format, then you would struggle. And that's why India could get to this platform. Rohit Sharma was the dominant player in this partnership, and this innings saw him go past 10,000 runs in ODI cricket, the second fastest player to reach this landmark. And the shot that he played to go past 10,000 was quite fitting for the occasion. A straight batted 6 down the ground of the bowling of Kasun Rajitha. And in my view, he has been the best opening batsman in this format, at least as far as how long I've watched cricket for, and I've watched cricket since 2011. And if you're looking at the statistics and the records, this may even extend to before that. So, in my view, he has been the best opening batsman in ODI cricket thus far. He's done some great things for India, and even in this innings as well, some trademark shots. For example, the pull shot that he played off Matisha Patirana for 6. So this innings was a very good one as well, and he's done some great things for India. So long may it continue. He's got 350s now in his last 3 innings, and hopefully this form can go into the World Cup as well. So well done to him, and yeah, let's see how he goes in the World Cup. Unfortunately for India, the innings didn't progress as smoothly as they would have liked from this point onwards. And the youngster Velalage, from the point that he was brought on to bowl in the 4 overs that followed, he had dismissed the Indian top 3. And the first wicket of 4 was that of Shubman Gill. The delivery that was bowled to draw him forward, it turned away slightly and took the off stump, so a good delivery there. I didn't understand the second wicket at all. It's the case where the ball held in the surface a bit, but it didn't really do anything too much for you to lose your wicket, especially in the manner that Virat Kohli's wicket was lost. It was a case where he was trying to play the ball in the air and he flicked it straight to the close-in fielder. I didn't understand that shot at all. If you're surprised by the ball holding in the surface and maybe chip it back to the bowler, it's not an ideal dismissal, but maybe it's more excusable than knowing the field is there and literally flicking the ball in the air to the field. So after playing such a good innings the previous day, unfortunately he got out for a low score today. And the third wicket to fall was that of Rohit Sharma, the ball that kept low and went in with the arm, which hit the leg stump and took off the bill. So a good set of dismissals there for Velalege. A partnership ensued between Ishan Kishan and KL Rahul, with Ishan Kishan, I think, going probably at about a strike rate of 50 for most of the innings. Even by the end, he was striking at 54 when he was dismissed. And KL Rahul, even though he only struck 2 boundaries, he still kept the score ticking along and scored at a decent strike rate, quite a good strike rate, especially for this playing on the surface. Unfortunately for him, a soft dismissal once again off the bowling of Dunit Velalege, where the ball seemingly held up in the surface. He tried to drive off the back foot and chip the ball back to the bowler and offered a cotton ball opportunity, which was accepted. And from this point onward, a collapse ensued where India lost their next 6 wickets for 59 runs. Until this point, being 154 for 3 on a surface like this, where it is tough to bat on, I think was quite a good effort, especially after being 91 for 3 and once again recovering to the stage. Unfortunately, from this point, their position of strength was squandered and a collapse ensued. Ishan Kishan, trying to go over cover of the bowling of Charita Sri Lanka, was dismissed and caught a cover. And we've seen Charita Sri Lanka bowl quite a bit in ODIs, and I think Sri Lanka have got players such as Dhananjaya De Silva. You've got Charita Sri Lanka there, and with Dunit Velalege, who had Wanindu Hasaranga been available to play, he probably wouldn't have played this game. And it's a case where both him and Charita Sri Lanka, if you combine their figures, they took 9 wickets for 58 runs in 19 overs. And it's good for Sri Lanka that whether it be the bowlers, the all-rounders, or even the batting all-rounders, for example, you've got players that can bowl, that are effective options, especially when there is some turn on offer. And it was an expectation that in this part of the world, of course, even though the Pacers did go for a few runs up front, you did think when the spinners were introduced, it would become a bit tougher. And you saw what transpired from the 12th over onwards. So I think Sri Lanka have got some good options there in terms of spinners. And if the Pacers that are injured do come back, then they've got quite a good attack there. I think there's still a few things that can be improved, that overall they've got quite some good resources to work with there. And it was a case where India went from 154 for 4 to 186 for 9. Hardik Pandya being dismissed when the score was 172, once again off the bowling of Velalege, his 5th wicket of the last ball of his quota, when the ball took the outside edge. Ravindra Jadeja was dismissed when the score was 178 for 7, where the ball, there was some turn and bounce and it took the outside edge off the bowling of Charita Sri Lanka, who was on a hat-trick soon after dismissing Kuldeep Yadav when it was 186 for 9. And the partnership that took India to, I thought, a score where it was mentioned on commentary. Had it only been about 190-something score, I think psychologically it wouldn't have been as if they'd got as many runs to defend. Taking the score over 200 would have given them some hope, and especially taking it to 213 from where they were. I think Mohammad Siraj, credits him for sticking around with Akshar Patel, 26 of 36. I thought he played quite a good hand to get India those vital runs at the end and get them to 213, and they would have felt as if they had some runs to defend. And the Sri Lankan bowlers, if you're looking at the seamers, Kasun Rajitha, none for 30 and 4. Dasun Shanaka, none for 24 and 3. And Matisha Paterna, none for 31 and 4. So the seamers really were taken for runs. Mahesh Deekshana, 1 for 41 in 9.1. I thought he bowled quite economically. But the bowlers that really changed things for them, I thought Dunit Velalege and Charita Sri Lanka with the wickets, and Dhananjaya De Silva, none for 28 and 10, played the enforcer role very well. So I think Sri Lanka would have been happy going into the break, and with a batting app that has been doing well in the past, so I think they would have been confident in chasing this down, despite the fact they would have acknowledged that India have got a quality bowling attack. The Sri Lankan openers walked out to bat, and as far as the first over was concerned, it started off well for them, with Pathum Nissanka playing a cover drive off the bowling of Jasprit Bumrah, which is quite pleasing to the eye. And from the second over to the first ball of the 8th over, it was quite a challenge that was posed by the Indian seamers to the Sri Lankan batsmen, and 3 wickets were lost during this phase, with the first wicket to fall being that of Pathum Nissanka. And with the series of deliveries that Bumrah had bowled to him beforehand, before the dismissal, the ball was coming back in, and the delivery that took the edge was a delivery that straightened, and a good diving catch from KL Rahul as well. A mini partnership ensued between Kusal Mendes and Dimut Karnate, with Kusal Mendes doing the bulk of the scoring. A combination of well-timed shots, for example, the boundaries that he scored after bowling of Mohammad Siraj, and a few edges as well, for example, that of when Hardik Pandya was bowling. And while he was looking good, unfortunately for him, he was outfoxed by Jasid Bumrah bowling the filler delivery at a slow, kind of almost a slower ball Yorker, and the catch was taken by Surya Kumar Yadav. So it wasn't great that two batsmen that had played well for Sri Lanka of late were dismissed early on. And in the very next over, I think, if I go here, the very next over, Dimut Karnatna was dismissed of the bowling of Mohammad Siraj, and once again a cool catch taken by Shuman Gill at slip. And Sri Lanka were 25 for 3 in, I think, 7.1 overs and were under pressure. And I thought the main player that was, or rather the threat in terms of a batting point of view from a Sri Lankan perspective, was going to be Charita Solanka. You saw a case where I think when chasing 166, Sri Lanka were 43 for 3. And Sri Lanka walked out and scored a 62 off 92, was unbeaten at the end. He's been in good form of late, and I thought since he is a good player of spin and pace, I thought he was going to be someone that could hang around. And Sadira Samaravikrama, who was coming off a 93 in the previous game. So I thought these two did have the current form on their side. And throughout the partnership was going well. They didn't take too many risks. In fact, only 3 boundaries were scored between them. But they rotated strike well. And a partnership of 43 had taken them to 68 for 3 before Samaravikrama tried to take Kuldeep Yadav and hit him over mid-wicket. Unfortunately, he missed the ball, and the stumping was affected by KL Rahul. It wasn't a dismissal that was needed at that point in time, because I thought that those two really held the key with their recent form to build a partnership that could rescue Sri Lanka from a predicament that they were in early on. And I thought the dismissal of Samaravikrama kind of opened the floodgates a bit, with Sri Lanka being dismissed in the next over. And unfortunately for Sri Lanka, the captain in Dasun Shanaka once again continuing his lean run in ODIs, with the 6th wicket falling when the score was on 99. A partnership ensued, a partnership which threatened to take the game away from India, between Dhananjaya De Silva and Dunit Velalage. And after taking 5 wickets, he scored an unbeaten 42, and these two almost took the game away from India. And it took Ravindra Jadeja dismissing Dhananjaya De Silva when 52 runs were needed, and from that point India did close out the game. So I think for Sri Lanka, they'd be disappointed that they lost this game. Yes, with 214, India would have still believed with the quality of steamers they have and with the 3 spinners that they have, and I will get to the bowling in a bit. But for Sri Lanka, with a batting lineup that in the series that they played against India a few months ago, when after losing that series, I think after losing the series after that series, they had to go and play the qualifiers in Zimbabwe, which in the end they won. It was a case where the batting was all over the place. In this case, since that qualifier, they've got some momentum after winning quite a few games in a row, and you've got a case where now this lineup is quite confident. So I think they would have been fancying their chances in chasing the score, and they would feel quite disappointed they couldn't get over the line. And now, unfortunately for them, instead they could have secured qualifications to the final had they won this game, and they really could have won this game. And they now have to play a do-or-die game against Pakistan, and we'll see who wins in that one. From an Indian bowling point of view, I thought most of the bowlers did have a good day. Jasid Bumrah with 7 overs bowled today, which is quite good for India, and a good return for him as well. Mohammad Siraj was very good up front with a new ball, and Hardik Pandya only bowled 1 over up front. I think in the first 3 or 4 overs or so, he'd bowled 1, and then bowled 4 overs towards the end. A spell that him and Jadeja really turned the game from India in the latter stage. Kuldeep Yadav, another 4 for him, and Ravindra Jadeja was excellent, 2 for 33 and 10. The one bowler that didn't have such a great day was Akshay Patel. After the first over that went for 1, he went at 7 and over for the next 4. And I did agree with what Irfan Pathan said, where I think if you're looking at the way in which Jadeja bows, how the arm comes through, it's a case where he does extract more turn than Akshay Patel does, and you did see that today. And Akshay Patel, of course, is quite an effective bowler, and we've seen the case where he undercuts the ball, and especially in Test cricket, and a lot of the time in limited overs cricket, it has proved to be the opposition's downfall. I'm sure it's just one bad game, and I'm sure he will do well, especially when you give him these conditions in the next few games. And the openers for India once again setting the tone, where you saw against Pakistan a partnership of 121, and then you saw what Virat Kohli and KL Rahul did. And in this case, on a pitch that was tough to bat on, they got a vital 80 runs that could help India somehow get to 214 and defend the score. So 2 different kinds of wins, but 2 very good wins for India, and now they're in the final. And let's see who they face in the final. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share the video with your friends, and remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?